Let me introduce you to one of the proud supporters of From the Hawkeye of the Storm, Iowa floor covering down in Bondurant. Now, for the last year and a half, you've heard me talk about this great company in the heart of central Iowa. They've got their Tough Core Click Together 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring, great for you DIYers out there. But even if you're just a contractor or you need a different type of flooring, they've got you covered, whether it be tile showers, carpet. Give Iowa Floor Covering a chance to serve you better and serve your flooring needs. Visit them online at iowafloorcovering.com. That's iowafloorcovering.com, or you can give them a call at 515-379-7000. That's 515-379-7000. Thank you to Iowa Floor Covering in Bondurant. We've got to update that ad because Iowa Floor Covering has been with this program for well over a year and a half. We welcome in my good friend Kachine Alexander, Hawkeye great. Kachine Alexander, who is with us on this Saturday afternoon. Kachine, good to see you. How are things in the great state of North Carolina this afternoon? You are muted, but I can see you're trying to speak.
75 and sunny. No complaints my way.
Beautiful. It's not quite 75 here. I think it's 60s and sunny and getting warmer. So, and it looked like a good environment there inside home of the Sooners down in Norman, Oklahoma, as the Hawkeye women defeating Murray State 92-57 in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And we are here to talk about it here over the next hour to hour and a half here on the postgame show. If you're new to the show, we take calls, we take comments in the live chat. We also take video calls. You can find the link in the description of the video, or you can call 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. Kachine, this is a Murray State team that scores a lot of points. We talked about it the other night in preview of the tournament. but it's also a Murray State team that doesn't play a lot of defense. And we saw that tonight. They are, and I grabbed their numbers. This is something we didn't really talk about. Obviously, you score a lot of points. If a team is going to be first or second in the NCAA, unless they're a blue blood, you're probably going to take a hit on the other side of the court. Mm-hmm. And the numbers would say that Murray State fits the mold there. They're 300 heading into this game. They were 319 in the country in scoring defense. So they're first in the country in scoring offense, 319 out of 353 Division I teams in scoring defense. Now, they did win the Missouri Valley. Give them credit for that. They got some good players, some skilled players. But frankly, they were just way overmatched, did not bring it defensively. And Iowa came out cool, composed, slow offensive start for some people, including Lucy Olson. But once she got it going, it was over. And it really came down to a pivotal stretch there late in the first half when several of Iowa's best players got in foul trouble, and it ignited a run that continued into the third quarter. And we'll get into the details of all that, Kachine, but just give me your 2 cents here, a few minutes removed from this win.
Yeah, I think, first off, I think that we guarded the three well. I think our guards held their own against their guards. I think that we definitely had an emphasis of getting the ball inside. That was definitely something that you could tell was talked about. And I thought that Lucy controlled the game more so than I've seen her before. And I'm not talking points wise. I'm talking about as a point guard. I felt like she was very aware of who had mismatches, who should get the ball, etc. And that might have been the best all around game I feel like we've played in regards to finding open players and getting the best shot available. And obviously I think they said that that was a season high in assists. So there's that. So I thought we played an overall great game. I thought that Sydney started off really slow for me. I was like, where is Sydney Falser? Hello. But I think that overall we had other people step up. Taylor Stremlo was huge. In the March Madness, it's got to be somebody other than your people. It's got to be an Ava Hayden. It's got to be a Taylor Stremlo. It's got to be somebody else outside of your norms. Obviously, your norms still have to play well, but there's got to be somebody else the further you go down the road. And it's great to see Ava continuing from the Big Ten tournament. So, and plus I did feel like she was our next best option after Hannah. So I was happy to see Coach Jay pull Ava right away as the backup when Hannah got her 2 fouls. So I felt like that was big and huge because she hasn't done that yet. So they clearly saw that would be their best option outside of Addie O'Grady. So yeah, I feel like it was a good first game. The first games are always stressful. So I feel like they got that out of the way, and now they can kind of settle in a little bit more for their second game. But I'm excited about the second game. There's a lot of Iowa ties in that second game. Obviously, we know Jenny Lillis. We know Randy played with her. Also, Coach Gage. She used to coach at Iowa. Shannon Gage was my assistant coach at Iowa. And now she's an assistant coach at Oklahoma. So it's kind of it's all around thing. And she coached with Coach Jay. So yeah, I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited. I don't know. Again, I'm not assuming that Oklahoma is going to win, but if they do, it should be fun.
I didn't realize this until toward the end of the broadcast today. It was brought up that these two teams, Florida Gulf Coast and Oklahoma, played last year in the first round of the tournament.
They did. It's a hell of a game too.
That's strange. Isn't that strange for the committee to do that 2 years in a row?
It is. Definitely.
Yeah. Let me run through a few notes I had from the first half, because the first half was pretty close. What's nuts about this is it was a 5-point game with about 90 seconds to go in the half.
It didn't feel like it.
Okay, maybe not to you. Mm-mm. I was a little stressed out when they're up 5. It's 35-30, and you get that second foul on Hayden, or excuse me, the third foul on Hayden, and then you get the third foul on Lucy. And let me give you a couple quick observations. If there's anything you're going to pick at, and this team won by 37 points today, so there's very few things to be upset about. But Hannah Stolke gets 2 fouls in less than 2 minutes. Ridiculous. She's got to be smarter. The one foul was out at the 3-point arc, 20 feet from the basket. Ridiculous reach-in foul. You got to be smarter than that. You got to be more aware of than that. That was a stupid mistake on her point, and I'm sure she would admit to that. But it kept her on the bench the remainder of the half. So the good thing is she was fresh legs, ready to go in the third quarter. But you can't do that in bigger games. I thought Taylor Strimlow really stepped up to the plate in the first quarter, made that Murray State defense pay for the scout they had on her, which obviously the scouting report says she don't shoot threes.
Yeah, listen, I'd have played her the same way, but I love the aggressiveness.
Absolutely. And she made him pay, made a couple of threes. Second quarter, again, Ava Hayden really stepped up as well in the first quarter, made an impact. But then you have not only second foul on Hannah in the first, you get second foul on Hayden. And I disagreed with this. Jan Jensen electing to keep Hayden in after the dead ball. And she promptly on the very next possession got her third foul. I don't know why you'd leave her in when you've got like 3 minutes to go in the half. Why not just pull her and put in Addie at that point? Am I wrong?
They were slow. They were way too slow. I don't know if the assistant coaches didn't get Coach Jay the information ahead of time. I don't know what happened, but as soon as the ball was inbounded, that's when Addie went to the scores table. And I'm like, you had plenty of time to get her out of there. Yeah. She is a freshman. She can't play with 2 fouls like that. Like, that's just not something you do. So I felt like that they definitely dropped the ball as a staff on that. Like, what are you doing? You have plenty of time to sub her out. And it just was kind of like, I was sitting there, hello, she's got 2. Where's the sub? And then it was like too late. So I think if they could take that one back, they probably would. Yeah,
so those are things that, again, nitpicking. I think those are fair observations. But then, hey, how about this? Lucy gets her third foul, and I don't necessarily disagree with her being in the game at that point. She's so important to what they do in the backcourt. But she gets her third foul, and you're thinking, okay, boy, it's 35-30. You've got Stolke, Hayden, and Lucy all in foul trouble. But a lineup of Guyton, Strimlow, McCabe, Afalter, and O'Grady rattle off 7 straight to take them to a 12-point lead at halftime, 42-30. And that was really all she wrote, Kachine.
That was it.
Third quarter, they blew this thing open. I think it went to 18 or 19, and then it was over. How critical were those final 90 seconds with that group where you only have – you have a couple upperclassmen, right, and Afalter and O'Grady, but, it's a pretty green lineup and not a ton of offense.
Yeah. I will give coaches credit because in that lineup, they immediately ran a play for Taylor Strimlow, like immediately. And I think that was kind of like probably one of the smarter things to do with that lineup. And Taylor got her 3 off, it went in, and then it kind of steamrolled the rest. And Taylor Strimlow came down and she got herself a bucket. So I think it kind of them calling a play instead of letting them play with that group was very smart.
I know this is going to be controversial to some people, but Ava Hayden is the most skilled big on this roster, and you're not going to convince me otherwise of that. I'm not saying she should start over Hannah Stolke, but she's the most skilled big on the roster. Can we agree on that, Kachine?
Yeah, in the post, yes, absolutely.
Now, again, Hannah's got to be smarter with the fouls. As I said earlier, the defense was optional for Murray State. They weren't running back on anything. And Iowa didn't even go that fast. You know that, Kachine. They didn't even go that fast.
They was moving, though. I'll give them that.
They were.
I will give Iowa credit. They was moving today, which is not normal. But they were moving for sure.
But it helps when you have a team that has no desire to get back defensively.
Yes.
And over and over, Iowa, just different people every time, continue to beat Murray State down the court. All right, folks, we are going to take some phone calls and continue to talk about this one. Before we do, we want to thank Jan Bellucci. Is this John Bellucci's long-lost sister? Thank you for becoming a YouTube member. I think you spelled John Bellucci differently, but thank you for being here, Jan. I guess technically that would be John Bellucci, so Bellucci is different than Bellucci. All right. I'll catch up eventually. Thank you for becoming a YouTube member here, Jan. Let's go to our first caller of the day. We've got Barbara here bright and early. Barbara.
Yes. Hi. I hardly ever come on. I think this is my second time in all the time I've been watching you guys. Go Hawks, right?
Go Hawks.
I was just very excited. I want to tell you I'm very politically active and I'm missing out on an empty town hall that I was going to go to because I prefer to be here for this show. Well. So I thought the bench was really key, and of course Ava and Lucy and Stremlo too. There was a lot of stars, but I'm just very happy we won, and I just came to say hi and let's keep going, right? And
Absolutely.
I don't know if you saw on Twitter, one of the Hawkeye fans said that Bob Stoops came up the aisles and he was wearing an Iowa polo.
I didn't see that, but
So
that's
he's there, and I'm thinking, okay, if we play Oklahoma, will he still wear his Iowa gear?
he's a Hawkeye
I think
fan.
so, right? Even
Especially
though
in
he
basketball.
coached Oklahoma for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting tidbit. So
Yeah. No, I
you guys
I,
are great.
I appreciate that, Barbara. And Bob Stoops is a Hawkeye through and through. I think he'd admit that.
Yeah.
That probably
Yeah.
got some fans thinking about his future. I know he's done that. He's talked about Iowa and made appearances places, and it probably has fans thinking about a future with him on the football side.
Oh, I think we missed that point though. I think we
Yeah,
missed it
maybe.
years ago.
Maybe.
So
It's still, as you know, I'd still make a push for him when Kirk hangs it up. But
I would too. I love Bob
Yeah.
Stoops. So anyway, this is basketball. Anyway, good job, you guys. I'm very
thank
happy
you, Barbara.
for everybody in the chat. I really have gotten to like a lot of the people in there, even though I've never met you in person. So I met you, Corey, but I haven't met you.
We met
Kachine.
in Indianapolis. I recall that. So
Kachine, when you come to coach, I want to meet you here in Iowa City. Okay.
not if, it's when.
When, right?
Barbara funny.
Okay. All right. Good
All right,
luck.
Barbara. Thank you, Barbara. Appreciate it. Have a great day. All right. Let's see. We've got James here with us. James, welcome to the post-game show with Kachine.
How you guys doing?
We're doing good. How you doing?
First off, one thing I think we don't point out enough is the run that group had before, like to start or at the end of the second quarter, like right before half, where everybody fouled out and they not fouled out, but got in foul trouble. So they had to take Olsen out. They had to take Hayden out. They didn't have Stokey, and they still had like Stremlo hits a big shot and Guyton hits a big shot. You know, kind of to keep that momentum going when you didn't have really any of your big pieces that were playing well in that game and they still like got the lead to 12, and then that kind of just put it away in the second half after that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I was kind of going through the stats. We don't have an officially sponsored player of the game today, Kachine, but you could go a lot of different directions if we were going to name a player of the game. I mean, my first instinct is to go with Ava Hayden because of the impact she made during a critical stretch in that first half. But then it was brought up in the chat, like Lucy, you know, she finishes with 12 assists and 12 points. She wasn't great efficiency-wise, although she became more efficient as the game went on, struggled early from the field. 12 points, 12 assists. And then I thought Sydney Falter really stepped up down the stretch with 11 points, 8 rebounds. Stolke, 11 points, 6 rebounds. Who would you name your player of the game, Kachine? Would it be Ava Hayden?
It would.
Yeah, but boy, you love that balance, right? That's a good problem to have, that, you know, we're going all these different places because you got a lot of production. Now, the one person who I think continues to struggle mightily, and we don't need to make this about people that are struggling, but the one person who continues to struggle is Aaliyah Guyton. And I mean, we've talked about this, Kachine. She looks like she has no idea what she's doing now. She's driving the ball. And this is a player who knows how to drive the ball and score and create offense. So I don't know that you can address that during the
thinking entirely too much. She's overthinking everything, where before she was just playing. She was just kind of letting the game come to her. And I think with the early success that she had, she started to feel like she had to do so much, which at the time she did, because our veterans did not step up. But I think now she has to find the role that we need her to be in now, because the team has changed just a little bit in regards to people stepping up and all kinds of things. So I think she needs to find her role now and be better at that role. I do think, like I said before, she's just forcing a lot and she's overthinking everything. Just let the game come to you. Yep. If you don't like it, pass it. It's simple. Basketball is a very simple game if you allow it to be that. So I think that's kind of her struggle right now.
Yeah, and it was brought up in the chat, like several people. Timothy brings it up. JSE Hawk brings it up. They are still missing layups, bunnies, and she's not the only one. I mean, we saw a number of players miss shots around the rim, and that's going to be something that in a close game, I could see us looking back here, hopefully not Monday, but hopefully later in the tournament, saying, boy, you want those layups back. But I agree with you, James, that Strimlo was big. And as I said, even Guyton, she was part of that lineup that led the charge down the stretch of that first half.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously this is Stremlo. Stremlo is not really – she coming up and down this year. It's been hard. But the way she played today definitely gives you confidence for Monday. She played really well in the times too, and she hit a couple big threes especially in the first half when we kind of were – it was closer than the game probably should have been at that point. She hit a couple big threes to kind of keep it 5, 8, 7, in that range early on in the first half to kind of just make sure to keep it there. And then we finally obviously got to the point we needed to. But it's just good to see the freshmen and even Ava, like when Hannah fouled out to me, I was like, let's just see how Ava does. And then she started playing really well. And I was like, this is benefit for us because they probably weren't going to, we knew they weren't going to put Hannah back in the game. But she has 2 fouls and then Ava picked up 3 and then I kind of was getting a little worried. But they did a good job of not fouling out in the stretch. Obviously, the second half they kind of pulled away, so it wasn't as big of a deal, right? But like they did a good job of not fouling out in the second half as much as they did the first. But what was your guys' thoughts on the foul? Like, the foul calls. Like I thought it was fine. I thought it was fine either way. But
no issue with the officiating today. None.
Yeah, I thought it was fine either way. I didn't have no issue with anything. But
I just thought my observation on officiating is stop fouling so much.
Yeah.
Stop fouling so much. Be smarter in those moments because those are the things like the missed layups and bunnies. Those are the things in bigger games. We can just kind of gloss over it today because they won by 30. But in bigger games, it's do or die, right? So
yeah. Well, especially. I thought it was especially funny when they were on TV. They were like, "She has 2. She has to be smart." And then Ava went down and she fouled again to get the 3rd right after they said that. And I was like,
"She shouldn't have been in that position."
She shouldn't.
Yeah.
And they went right after her. And
yeah,
she's
they knew it.
She's also a freshman, and in some moments, first ever NCAA tournament game, freshman who hasn't played much this year, Kachine. That's totally different than Hannah Stolke going out and fouling at the 3-point arc.
No, yeah,
right.
That was a definitely bad foul, but. You also know if you have 2, though, in that situation, they might go at you, right? So you have to play it a little bit smarter, too, especially in that situation. They know you had 2, they're going to go right after you. That's the smart thing for them to do as Murray State, to go after you if they know you have 2 as well. So you kind of should know that there's a possibility that they're going to do that as well. But it was a good game overall. And if we get Oklahoma, get another Iowa girl on that team, too. So, it's funny. Hey, you have a chance to get back-to-back. But enjoy your guys' night, and I'm just glad to get the win and move on to the next round.
Sounds good, James. Appreciate you being here, sir. Good stuff. Yeah. Boy, all the Iowa connections. This bracket is interesting. And matchup-wise, I don't love the potential of a Sweet 16 matchup with UConn. I mean, UConn's just absolutely devastating. Or who are they playing? Arkansas State or whoever it is tonight. Who are they playing right now?
Ever since they beat USC by 20 at USC, they've been on a whole different rampage. That's one team I don't think anybody wants to see right now.
Yeah, they're let's get a live update. UConn, the 2 seed taking on the 15 seed Arkansas State, and it's 90-21. 90-21.
Oh, so they're about to break South Carolina's record.
What's South Carolina for a margin?
No. South Carolina just did just broke a NCAA record for amount of points scored in an NCAA game. It's like 108 or something of the sort.
They're going to beat that because
I know.
We're still in the third quarter there. So I don't like that matchup. But let me say this: the teams that are in this draw. Now, I've not watched a lot of Oklahoma. We know that about Murray State. Know it about Florida Gulf Coast. You probably have a better idea of how Oklahoma plays because of the connections to the Iowa staff. Does Iowa? I mean, we saw it work out well to Iowa's advantage to date. Does Iowa match up better with teams that are more fast-paced, score a lot of points, as opposed to grinded out type of teams? Or how would you evaluate the being in that pod? I mean, I know we talked about the pod in advance, but after winning by 30 plus, that makes me think maybe they do match up better with higher scoring teams because you can kind of negate that with the better defense this year.
Correct. I think that they're a more, like you said earlier, a team that is high scoring usually doesn't play good defense. Just think about Iowa's team last year. So,
or Iowa men's basketball.
Okay. Yeah. So there we go. It's usually the case. But our defense is something that is high. So we can be both. It allows us to score, but we're probably going to get more stops than they are going to get stops because that's what we do, regardless if they score a lot of points or not. So, yeah, we definitely match up better with people who are more offensive-minded than defensive.
It was brought up in the chat, too. Patrick brings up this potential second-round matchup against Oklahoma, and Reagan Beers is their big, who is averaging 18 and 9 on the season. I don't know how much you've seen of her, but she's got some good size at 6'4". I would think, we've seen Hannah play pretty well against some of the bigger post players in the Big Ten. It's kind of hard, but it's kind of pick your poison right now, right? With the Iowa Bigs, because you don't know who's going to go off. Any one of the three can. And, I think it was mentioned during the broadcast today, teams don't have a lot to scout out with Ava Hayden. No. So, in a way, it's sort of...
You're learning, but still.
But it's sort of a good thing, right? That they don't have a ton of tape on her, and she came on strong in the Big Ten tournament. I also wonder with what Taylor Strimlow did today, knocking down a couple of threes. I don't think we can overstate the importance of knocking those down when Murray State was clearly not respecting her ability to stretch the floor. Does that impact a team's scout? Like, does Oklahoma look at what she did specifically 2 days ago, or are they going to look at the sample size as a whole and still say, nah, don't guard her, she ain't going to make threes? How do you handle that with a scout if somebody a hot day and it's kind of a deviation from the norm?
So really what happens is you still have to kind of respect it. You don't have to be in her face. You're never going to be in her face because she's not that kind of shooter. Just based off of, the resume of what she put together this year. However, you can't negate the fact that when people get hot, they get hot. So you definitely have to play her. You just don't need to be on her like it was before.
Okay, we've got a couple of callers here. Let's go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
Hi, my name is Liz.
Hey, Liz.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm Liz, and I live in Iowa City, and it was just a wonderful game. It got me going today so that I can go out this afternoon and do stuff I don't want to do. So it got me going.
There you go.
I have a couple questions or statements, and feel free to comment on any or none. One is that I am so impressed by Lucy. She had more than a little burden on her shoulders, being seen as sort of Caitlin's replacement. And she's really got into it. And like Caitlin, she is so unegotistical, that's not a word, but we're going to make it one, that she sets things up for other people. That's what I love about this Iowa team in general. They play as a unit. There isn't any, I'm the wonderful person. I just love that. I also wondered why Jan didn't take the bench on sooner, because those guys are going to be playing again. And please remind me when the next game is against probably Oklahoma.
Yep.
So I don't know, who knows what goes on in the mind of anyone, but I thought these people are tired. They have to be. And so that's it. I'm still learning. I stumbled into your site not too long ago, and I love it. So thank you, and both of you. And I'm still learning all the terminology. I don't quite get some of it, but thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So comment.
Yeah, Liz, no, those are good questions. And let me just address real quick the starters staying in too long. You're not the only one that feels that way, Liz. Kachine, I wanted to ask you that. Drew brought it up earlier. I don't want to address it right out of the gate, but I tweeted out toward the end of the third when they're up like 28. I'm like, okay, now you got to start thinking about when are we getting people out? Because Liz, they play Monday. Now we don't know time yet. We don't know who they're playing. We'll know that later today. But we should know the time either by the end of the night or early tomorrow. But Kachine, I thought Jan did a better job than Lisa did. I'll just be frank. I thought Lisa, this is going to sound really bad, but I tell it like I feel it. I thought Lisa did a horrible job managing who was in games late in blowouts. I just did. But
Mhm.
Jan did a better job tonight. Maybe could have gotten the starters out a little earlier, or was there also a facet of some of those players were in foul trouble, so they got rest in the first, and you don't want to leave them rusty? There's a lot going on there, Kachine. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I think I probably would have taken majority of my starters out about 2 minutes into the fourth tops.
Okay.
You give them a little bit in the fourth and then you take them out. I might have played Hannah just a little bit more just because she didn't play at all the first half. But she would have been out probably within 4 minutes into the game, the fourth quarter, because again, she really only played the second half. So I probably would have left her in just a little bit longer. But yeah, I thought the same thing after the third quarter. I was like, oh yeah, they got 2 minutes.
Yeah, and by the
I
way,
told them that you got 2 minutes, make the best of it.
at the very beginning of the fourth, I thought, why are all the starters back in? And I thought that, probably a pretty typical thing to do, right? Start your starters in the fourth quarter, but then get them as soon as you kind of punch them right in the first couple minutes. All right, then we're out. Basically, she waited till the 5 minute mark, and that's
why I had said you got 2 minutes, make the best of it.
But let's be honest, we don't know exactly who was making all the rotational decisions when Lisa was at the helm, right, Kachine?
Right.
So, yeah, Liz, those are good questions. Maybe we're nitpicking a little bit, but I tend to agree with you. Now, I'll say this, that if they advance past Monday, and if they make a run, and we're talking about a run of the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, yeah, those types of things are going to become more consequential. And the other factor here, somebody on Twitter said, when I tweeted that out initially, he said, well, they got to get the freshmen. And they are down. Tegan Mulaney did not make the trip due to a concussion. So that's a factor. But they got plenty of people who can come in there and spell minutes. And you're up 34. They were up 32 points heading into the fourth quarter. Kachine, they're not scoring 30. UConn scored 34 points in the first quarter against Arkansas State. And even they, with the numbers they had in the first quarter, would not have overcome a 32-point deficit. So, but I understand starting the players in the fourth quarter with what Cash said. So, Liz, did we answer your questions?
You did beautifully. Can I ask one more?
Sure.
Hannah, I luckily met her a couple of years ago. And when I saw her, I thought, oh, she is so young. And how do these therapists, mental health therapists, for 45 years, thank you, how in the heck do they handle all the pressure? I don't know. I hope they have counselors and team leaders or something. But I was wondering with Hannah, she pushes it so hard and she fouls, but she's also a leader. And so what's the balance between trying real hard and fouling out? Does that make sense?
Being smart and trying hard.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's it.
Being
smart and trying hard, because if you are hustling but you're causing the team problems, you might as well not hustle, honestly speaking. So she just has to be smarter with her decision making and not just some of the time she's acting like a freshman who doesn't understand body control. So we know we know she can't. Like, I don't understand where her mindset is sometimes with that. So yeah.
And thank you, folks. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, I can't tell because on the screen the timing is different. Anyway, thank you. You guys are wonderful. I'm glad I stumbled into you, and I'm going to continue to watch.
Thank you, Liz.
The next game is Monday.
And yep, time and network to be announced.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So, all right, Liz.
You guys take care.
Thank you, Liz. Appreciate the call. All right. We are going to, let's see, a couple things I want to get to in the chat before we get to our next caller. Rafine, start hiding, please. That's not happening. And they're not going to go. They're not going to start a too big lineup. Why fix what's not broken? You can't do that. The only time you're going to go too bigs is
in the game
when a falter needs needs some breathers, right? When a falter,
not necessarily. I think it depends. There's been some times when we went too bigs just because That really depends on the game, honestly speaking, and what matchups and some other things. So,
don't they have to go big though right now without Tegan Mulaney available, or do they go Stremlo?
Did you see? I was gonna say Stremlo played the 4.
Yeah, she played a little 4 tonight
today, which is interesting. But again, it worked because they were a small team. So,
I'm gonna rub something in here because this is to you, Kachine. Yeah, you know. This is not me that commented this. This is somebody else. Are we going to talk about seniors coming back after participating in senior day? Asking for a friend.
Listen,
And
I'm going to keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. That was dramatic for no reason, considering she literally said she knew she was coming back.
What do you mean?
That would have pissed me off.
What do you mean she said it?
She in that little interview in the tunnel that I saw on she said she knew she was coming back. So I'm like, well, then what in the?
Well, I guess I didn't hear that, but you're saying she knew before senior day?
Yeah, she said she knew she was always coming back, is what the girl said. So I'm trying to figure out. So you just was playing with everybody. What?
Maybe she wanted 2 senior days. I mean, maybe she wanted 2 senior days.
She shouldn't be involved in senior day next year. She don't get no presents. Don't dress up her locker, nothing. You already did this once.
But just for the record, you told me that you go through senior day, you move on.
Well, these children nowadays are dramatic. That's what we're gonna say. Because I couldn't believe that when I heard that on Twitter. I said, you know what? I was gonna give her the benefit of the doubt because I'm like, you know what? Maybe she was really struggling with this idea. She was really trying to figure out, and maybe they talked her into it. Then I could understand. But
did you see the reaction? Did you see the reaction from some of the players when
that was dramatic and insane in itself? We ain't gonna talk about that because that was
really. Well, no, let's talk about it for a second because it was dramatic. I posted a video on when it happened. I don't know if you saw my reaction, Kachine, but
I did not.
Callie Levine was literally sobbing.
I saw it.
Within like 8 seconds of the announcement, sobbing. And I'm not making fun of her at all. I'm just saying that's the investment these people have in one another. I know you don't like the dramatic. Put your head down. This is a very different. Like I say,
I'm not crying for no other human outside of my family. Okay, I don't care, especially if you ain't injured, dead, or something of the sort. I am not crying for you because you're coming back. That is insane.
She is obviously Callie Levine is a very emotional person. Kachine.
Listen, that's what I said. Everybody, that's just what it is. So they were so happy that she was coming back, which is crazy because that means you ain't. You know what?
No.
Okay, you know where I'm going with that. Okay, her coming back means you still gonna be sitting on the bench, so you definitely shouldn't be crying. But you know what?
Well, technically speaking, with a Falter and Lucy leaving, Callie Levine should have an opportunity to seize playing time, and that we don't know if everybody's gonna we don't know that Aaliyah Guyton's gonna come back. Is it possible somebody transfers? Yes, but I get what you're saying.
Some freshmen coming in and this, that, and the third. Again, one more person that you got to fight for a spot.
These are sisters. Blood is thicker than water, Kachine. I'm just saying.
Well, they're not sisters, but I get your point.
Let's go back to our phone line. Thank you for calling.
And being happy is fine, though.
Iowa postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
Hey, this is Chris in Wyoming.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
We're good. How are you?
Good. I'm happy. So I just had a couple of things to say, maybe 3. But as I was watching the game and watching Taylor Stremlo, and what I saw was some amazing progress in her game, where she settled down. She was making good decisions. I think that this was the best game I've seen her play. I was really happy for her. And then a comment on Aaliyah Guyton. She's I hear what you're saying, Kachine, about her being in her head, but how do you calm that down? How do you, as a coach, deal with that to get her? You say let the game come to you, and I agree. And and isn't somebody telling her quit trying to get layups? It hasn't been working for you, So how do you deal with that?
Well, can I just comment real quick, Chris, and then I'll let the expert
Sure.
comment. But I don't know that
Okay.
you can tell a player like Aaliyah Guyton stop trying to make layups, because if she's not able to drive, then her game is it's like saying to Taylor McCabe, "You're not making threes, honey. Don't shoot." That's not how that works. Right? Am I right, Kachine? Offensively, Aaliyah's game is to drive the ball, be aggressive, score around the rim, kick it out. She's not doing it well right now, but you can't tell her to stop if you're going to have her in the game, right?
Well, she can drive the lane, but the shot's not there. She's not looking. If she's being double teamed, she's not looking for who's open. That's my criticism.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, you can't tell her, well, we want you to drive the ball, but don't look to score. I mean, she's got to make better decisions when she's down there, so she's not taking contested shots. So she's not seeing it right in those moments. But I don't know. Kachine, can you comment on that?
No, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head in that scenario. It's not as easy as just telling somebody not to do it. That's not how that works. The same way with Lucy Olsen, it took her a while to understand our offense enough to figure out where she could get her shots. You can't just tell her where to get it. She's got to feel it. Same thing with Aaliyah Guyton. Her role has changed throughout the season. At the beginning of the season, it was different because we didn't have any other options. People were not producing. There was a lot going on. Her role has now shifted. And on top of that, this usually happens with freshmen at some point, is that people start to get scouts on you. The more games you play, the more you become scouted. So at the beginning, nobody knew who she was. Nobody knew what she could do. The opposite is of Ava. She didn't play a lot. So now she's coming on the scene and people are like, oh, heck, what do we do with this kid? She doesn't have tons of film. So they're like flip-flopped in the sense of that. And Taylor Stremlow, again, they have film on her, which is why they played her the way they played her. Taylor just decided, the hell with it. I'm going to shoot it. So I think that with Aaliyah, she has to learn how to play when you're scouted, because teams will take away your first option. So what do you go to? What's your second option? What is your second read? The first read is easy. The second and third read is where you become elite or where you become very good.
Sure. Yeah. I hadn't thought about the scouting aspect, so I'm glad you pointed that out, and I'll think about that in the future. So, and the other comment I had was about Ava Hayden and how she's playing with confidence and how well she's playing. And I did see someone in the chat make a comment that Jan waited until she was ready to really play, and I agree with that. I think that that she's ready and may not have been, beforehand. So really glad we have that tool, out there to provide what's needed in the post. But and I also was thinking about in the future for Hannah, because I can see Ava taking that post position from her. And so what's Hannah got to do in the future to up her game?
She gotta get an outside jump shot.
Yeah.
You're talking about
that.
Future. When you say future, you're not
next
talking
year.
about this tournament. You're talking about next year and beyond.
Next year.
Yeah,
next year. That's what I'm talking
is.
about.
Yeah.
I think, the two of them playing together was interesting. And, they can't start together, but the two of them playing together, I thought was,
imagine how good they can be.
Look.
Imagine how good they can be if Hannah Stuelke can shoot. If she could shoot, and then you have her and Ava starting alongside, that could be one. And let me just say this, that could be one of the best front court duos in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
If Hannah could develop a jump shot, that's how deadly they can be. The problem is trying to play them together without that is a challenge.
Hannah better than me. I'd have shot one of them shots today. I don't care. We was up 30. I'm pulling it. Absolutely. Yep. What's the worst that can happen?
If you see a couple go down and then all of a sudden, later.
I'm pulling it. Sure am. There was one, she was on the wing by the bench. I'm like, shoot it. But again, I would have told, if I'm her coach, I'm telling her to shoot it.
Yeah.
I'm telling Hannah right there in that moment, Hannah, knock it down. because that's instilling confidence. That's telling her you're up 30. Like, shoot it every time you get it, for all I care. Like, at this point, you're trying, like, seeing what works. But yeah, I would have liked to see her at least attempt it. Again, I don't know if her coaches are, like pushing that, especially in these kinds of games, but I would have.
Well, this would have been a perfect game for her to take some outside shots, when they're 30 points ahead. You know what I mean?
So, you should.
Yeah, I would have shot it if I was in there.
You would have made it,
okay,
too. You would have hey, Chris, you would have made it, too. You would have shot it, and you would have made it.
Absolutely. Okay, guys.
All
well,
right,
it was
Chris.
a fun game to watch, and go Hawks. And what, they play Monday? We
They
play again Monday?
We'll find out time probably within the next I don't know if it's if it's tonight or tomorrow morning, Kachine, when the times come out for Monday.
Yeah, it's usually tomorrow, but it could be different. Usually it's tomorrow morning, but they could get it out later tonight. But they have to wait for everybody's stuff, so they might.
Okay, then.
Okay,
well,
Chris.
go Hawks.
Go Hawks. Thank you, Chris. All right. Let's see. We got a couple of comments here in the chat we want to get to. This has been a very active postgame. Folks, if you want your comments prioritized, you can throw up a super chat like Bo did. Bo says it felt like the 2 weeks off was big for the freshmen to make major strides in their respective games and confidence. Definitely to Stremlo, definitely to Hayden, although Hayden was coming on during Big Ten tournament play.
Yeah, she continued.
So, Stremlo, hey, and I don't even know that what we saw from Stremlo tonight is a result of time off. I'm not saying Bo's wrong, but I also think at some point they, someone's defenders disrespecting you that much. When you see a shot or two go down, it lights a fire under you, Kachine. Like, I mean, I can't relate to playing at the D1 level, but just in general, like somebody disrespecting you on the court and basically saying through their body language and their lack of attention to your space, hey, you can't shoot, knock down a shot, knock down 2 shots, and close the gap. So, Bo, appreciate your comment, and we'll see if the rest plays a role. Of course, a lot of these teams have had plenty of rest heading into the NCAA tournament. Kachina, you still got you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you were frozen for a while. Thank you, Bo, for that. Bob brings up Oklahoma, Florida Gulf Coast right now on ESPN. Mute the TV and continue with the podcast like Kachine did. So, folks, follow that good advice. Mute your TV or your phone and make sure you continue listening to the podcast as you've got
Why is
Iowa's next opponent on. Say it again. Okay, well, Kachine she's frozen at a very good time because she looks happy. So let's go to our next caller. We got Jeff here. Jeff, welcome to the show, sir.
Hello. I don't know if we can get into any of the men's stuff, but this is kind of a tie-in here.
Sure.
One thing that the women have really captured is the culture thing. And listen to a couple other Iowa podcasts. You hate to compare to Iowa State, but one thing that they tried to do to kind of connect their fan base was to have these tailgate tours and really have your fans and your players connect and your coaches. And I think the women have just done a great job of that. And I think that's one thing that was kind of missing with the men's program. But I worry about the direction we went with kind of what seems like maybe a lack of a plan with the NIL stuff, because my worry is now you have not only one disconnected era of Hawkeye basketball that Fran did a good job of bringing back the Tom Davis players and coaches and making them feel a part of that program again. But now this new coach is going to have that barrier of having to try to bring back, all the players that played for Fran for 15 years. And you just worry about, can we get out of that cycle? It's really, it would have been nice if they had some sort of succession plan, in place. I think we kind of jumped the gun a little bit. I think the fan attendance thing is a little bit overrated. If you look at the Big Ten fan attendance, they ranked 10th out of 18. So it wasn't as bad maybe as people made it out to be. But the other connectivity of the fans, I'm kind of tired of hearing the narrative about the students. I could really care less about the students. And the reason I say that is the women are packing the place right now. and they don't get hardly any students at the game, and that place is raucous. But there's a connectivity there. I don't know if you can have both.
Can I respond to a couple of those things, Jeff?
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
First of all, let me just say this. My question to you is, how are you going to have a succession plan? And you say have a succession plan in place when you are toward the bottom of the Big Ten in NIL funding. You have a fan base that is apathetic. You don't have donors who are willing to pony over dough. How are you going to, like, Indiana may have had Darian DeVries locked down during the season, but in general, programs aren't able to do that. So you have to make a decision. Is this guy the future? And my question to you is, what was it, as much as I appreciate what Fran brought to the men's program, what was it that made you think that Fran staying longer was in the best interest of the school? What was he going to do to change the problems that we're seeing, regardless of how big of a problem the crowd was in the student thing? And I'll respond to that in a second. But what gave you confidence in Fran moving forward? What was he doing to give you confidence?
Well, they were playing winning basketball until Owen Freeman. If they have Owen Freeman for the rest of the season, that's at least 3 more wins on the board. They get 3 more wins on the board. They're a 500 Big Ten team. The Big Ten is 9-0 in the big tournament right now. So,
okay, well, but
I get that they have struggled winning the big games under Fran, and that's the NCAA tournament. A lot of people judge your whole career off of that, but they have played overall winning basketball, and the recruiting class is coming.
Not the last 2 years. They have not played winning basketball the last 2 years.
What was the record in the Big Ten last year?
Well, they didn't make the tournament. So, I mean, who cares what their record was if they didn't make the tournament? That's what we're after, right? If you're not making the tournament, then you have to say it's not a successful season. 9 times out of 10, unless barring some, bringing a team like Missouri. Like Missouri, they were coming out of being a 0 or 1 win team last year, and they come back to relevancy. They're actually in the tournament this year. But keep in mind, you bring up Owen Freeman. I have a bit of an issue with that argument because Owen Freeman was at Iowa healthy when they gave up 116 at Wisconsin, when they gave up 99 at USC, when they gave up 94 at UCLA. So they were having the same defensive issues that they, late in the season that they were having when Owen Freeman was available.
Yeah, so, they had some games where they got blown out, and they had some games where they won with high scoring games.
They gave up 116, 99, and 94. Two of those 3 teams were unranked and mediocre at best. Right. I'm just saying, Jeff, I disagree with you. I respect your opinion on this, but to me, you have a guy in his 60s who has apparently, whether it be from a medical standpoint, I mean, nobody's been able to give me an accurate explanation as to why Fran seems to have lost his fire. Yeah, I know he got kicked out of his last game, but he's a different person on the sidelines now than he was 3 years ago. And I just would like to know why. Why is that? One thing about it is, hey, he's older. Maybe his doctors told him to settle it down. Maybe he's on some medication that helps him settle it down. But I do think you have to be adamantly confident in the next 5 years under a head coach who's in his 60s, who is having problems connecting with the fans. He has had problems connecting with the students. The women's basketball, as you know, the women's basketball crowd that's there was not there when the woman who's sitting right between us right here, that crowd was not there when Kachine played at Iowa. So you have to ask yourself, why is it different now? I think we all know the answer why it's different now. So Caitlin Clark was able to connect with thousands and thousands across the world of fans, many of which are in Iowa, but not all, many of which are in Iowa and now are attending games. That is a unique thing that you cannot expect to translate over to the men's game. You have to have a student body to have a viable crowd at men's college basketball games. I thoroughly believe that. They are not going to be able to pack Carver-Hawkeye Arena, 15,000 plus, without a student body, not on the men's side. They might be able to continue to do it on the women's side, but they're not going to be able to do it on the men's side. So they have to be able to have a coach that connects with the student body. And it's not just Fran. It's not just the head coach. It's also the administration figuring out ways to ignite some sort of excitement with that population. But I disagree with you on the student thing. The crowd thing, yeah, I'm not going to argue with the numbers. If the numbers say they're middle of the pack in the Big Ten with attendance, okay, fine. Yeah, I'm sure. I know attendance is down everywhere. But I just think there's just no reason why I watch games here in Ames at Hilton Coliseum, and the students are packed in there every single game. And I don't understand why we can just accept that, well, we don't need the students there when the students are at every football game. And like I say, at Iowa State, across this, 2 hours away, they're at every basketball game. What's the difference? Why can't you get the student population in there? And why is there no blame to the head coach for not generating some buzz there?
No, I would agree with the standpoint of that they can be more connected. It seems like we make every excuse for the students, and we've given them options, and they're on this break, they're on that break, they're, it's finals week. It's right. Always something going on with the students, and yeah, they give up too many seats to them. When like I said, in the women's, Caitlin's gone now, and they're still packing it without students. They're not students there. They're not students at the wrestling meets.
Right.
And that place gets loud, and you can do it without the students. And if the students come, that's icing on the cake. But I don't think it gets turned around with the students. I just don't.
Think we know the men can do it without the students. We know the women can do it without the students, but we don't know the men can do it without the students because the men have not had a Caitlin Clark go through the program, whether she's still here right now or not. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
That changed how the fan base perceived and viewed women's basketball.
Yeah.
Totally changed it. I mean, we went from curtains down to, not having enough seats in the arena. You remember those curtains? Yeah. Did you like the curtains?
No, not at all.
Did you like the curtains back in the day?
Yeah, I didn't mind them.
I mean, they were there. They were there every game, correct? That's the reality of it. That's how the sport
didn't have that many people.
That's how the sport has grown. So anyways, Jeff, I don't want to – I appreciate your question, and I want to – I know people. I haven't even looked at the live chat to see how many people are ripping us for going off on men's basketball after a women's tourney game. But I do appreciate your comment, and believe me, I'm going to do a live show when we get an official announcement on the next head coach. We're going to be going live and talking about all this. So
I appreciate that. I just was worried about the money thing. Like, if we don't have the money for the NIL, how are we going to pay a buyout? And when I said the succession plan is trying to get him to the end of the buyout part, and I just think that was too much to overcome with the Darren DeVries, where you had a $4 million buyout with Fran and a $6 million buyout with Darren. They just, if they don't have enough money to come up with 1.5 in NIL, then how are they going to come up with 10 million? I don't think there are enough big donors that wanted that change. And I think that sounds like that was representative in the call, and that's probably why they're leaning towards the Ben McCollum, which, could be a roll of dice. He could end up being great if he lands, and it could end up being a situation where he's never recruited at that level, and people don't like that style of play. He hasn't, developed at that level. It's a kind of a feast or famine type of thing.
It's always a risk. Always a risk with any coaching change. So, Jeff, thank you for calling in. I appreciate the time, sir. All right, we have got a couple people here still waiting. Linda asks, who was my player of the game? I went back and forth in this. We don't have an officially sponsored player of the game, but I think I'd have to go Ava. Let's run through the stats before we get to our next caller. Folks, if you're just joining us, the Hawkeye women defeating Murray State 92-57 in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And the Hannah Stolke finishing with 11 points, 6 rebounds in spite of missing most of the first half due to foul trouble. Sydney Falter, 11 points, 8 rebounds for her. Taylor McCabe made 3 threes along with 5 rebounds. Kylie Fierbach, 8 points, 3 assists. Lucy Olson, 12 points, 12 assists. That's balance, Kachine. That's balance. Nobody in the starting lineup had less than 8, and nobody had more than 12. They also got 15 from Ava Hayden off the bench. She'd be my player of the game. 7 rebounds for Ava Hayden on 7 of 11 shooting. And then Taylor Strimlow was the last player in double figures. She had 10 points, 4 rebounds, a pair of assists. She was 2 of 4 from 3, 4 of 6 from the field. Hawkeye is also shooting the ball really well, 56%. Made 8 threes on 17 attempts. That's good for 47% from long range. Didn't shoot free throws great, but they only got there 4 times. So they were 2 of 4 from the line. That is something that they're not getting to the line a lot, right? I mean, they didn't get to the line a lot today, but I have to go back in the Big Ten tournament. It felt like they didn't get to the line a lot in the Big Ten tournament. Is that a concern at all, Kachine?
It's not really our game to begin with, honestly speaking. We either have wide open layups or we shoot threes or mid range, I guess.
Bobby brings up who might enter the portal.
Nobody.
Nobody.
I don't think either one of those people that he got on there is going to enter the portal.
You don't think Kenise Johnson or Jada Gyamfi or Leah Guyton, any of those players will enter the portal?
Kenise might.
I don't think Gyamfi's going anywhere.
No.
I like how you're so confident about that, about somebody who doesn't play. I mean, you're someone who doesn't play, and you're like,
she is totally fine with what her role is on that team, okay?
She knows what her role is? Is that what you're saying?
She does. She is totally fine.
All right. All right. No comment on that. Let's go to our next caller. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line? Hello, you're on the air.
Hey, Corey. Hey, Cash. Just a couple comments on the game today. And I know you mentioned earlier, Corey, you thought Iowa's best option at the 5 was probably Ava. So
I
don't
real
know.
quick, can I just interject? I didn't actually say that. I said she's the most skilled big.
Okay.
Yeah,
I take that back. But
yeah.
So I was wondering both you to comment. So moving down the road here in the tournament now, probably Oklahoma the next hurdle. And if you were the coach, would you see yourself probably giving Ava extended minutes, like 20 plus a game, or is that unreasonable in your eyes, or what? I myself can't help but think, when I was always told you play your best player. So if I'm playing Oklahoma or Connecticut or USC down the road now, in my eyes right now, I've already made up my mind. Ava Hyden's on the floor a minimum of 20 minutes. So what's your comment on that, guys?
Kachine, you want to give your thoughts on minutes for Ava? She get 20 minutes.
I think it depends on the game. What she gets today.
Okay.
But
you got it. Go ahead.
No, I just was going to pull up. Let me see if I can pull up final stats for Ava Hyden. For the game, it looks like Ava played 17 minutes. So she's getting closer to that 20-minute mark. But that was also with that's also with Stolke in drastic foul trouble in that first half. So I don't think
she was very gassed in that first half. So she needed a sub earlier than what she got one.
Yeah, I don't think she's getting 20 minutes a game. I just think that's I don't think they're going to give her 20 a game. I just don't know how you unless they start playing Hannah more at the 4. You're not only playing Hannah 20 minutes if she's healthy and if she's out of foul trouble. That's my opinion.
I'm going to say, that second half when their best player went down, I don't care who's playing, inside there, the second half for Iowa, they're going to score at will. So I'm saying if Ava played even 10 minutes second half, she's probably scoring a minimum of 10 more points. So, but, everybody's got their opinion. I just think Ava's really come on, and I think, going down the road, she's going to be one of the key factors whether we advance or not. And so, Cass, I want your opinion on this. And if a basketball fan came up to you and said, Cass, if Oklahoma and Iowa meet up here, does either team have a coaching edge? How would you answer that?
Does he say that again?
If a fan came up to you, say tomorrow, if it's Oklahoma versus Iowa Monday, and said, does either team have a advantage when it comes to coaching in this game, how would you answer that?
Oklahoma.
Wait, why?
Okay.
They've coached. We are comparing a brand new head coach that has not experienced many different things that happen as a head coach compared to a seasoned head coach.
I agree.
Who has played,
what? Can I just
many different places and has been successful.
There are many times where I say I disagree with you, Kachine, but and when you first said it, I was going to say I'm going to challenge you, but with what you just said, I totally agree. You're right.
That's the only thing I'm saying. I'm not saying that we can't come up with something or that, but with knowledge and experience, you've seen more things. You've been involved in more situations, all of that stuff as a head coach. So that changes things a little bit when you're talking about the ability. Now, again, Coach Jay can get up on her depending on the situation too. So, but if I'm just saying right off the cuff, I'm going to go with Jenny Lillis because she's been successful literally everywhere she's been.
Yeah, I would say at this time, she's the better head coach at this time. I think it's pretty much a no-brainer. I mean, Jan's done a good job, but at this time, Jenny's the more complete head coach for sure in my eyes. But one last thing, I think next year, Kylie coming back, I think that's huge myself. I think Kylie defensively just adds so much to this team. I mean, she's clearly the best defender on the team. And I bet you if you asked Juju Watkins, she'd probably tell you Kylie probably gave her more trouble than almost anybody else she played against this year. I think that was a key in that game. You know, Kylie had Watkins off balance a long time in that game. And Kylie's defense brings a lot to this team. I think a lot of times that goes unnoticed, but she's a big part to where we're at right now.
I agree. It's huge getting her back. Kachine, we didn't actually ask you formally about your thoughts on Kylie Feuerbach returning. What's the impact?
That's a great get for Iowa returning next year. You need a little bit more veteran. I think it takes the pressure off some of your other veterans because now she's going to be the true leader, or should be. Let me say that. But I think that's a fantastic get for the coaches to be able to bring someone like Kylie back.
So Corey, is this Beers? Is she first, second team All-American type? I mean, is she going to be a handful, you think, or what?
I haven't watched much of her. The 6'4".
No, not second team All-American. Oh no.
Well, she is averaging like 8.
She's good though,
18.
but not second team All-American.
But she's fits more of the, I don't want to say O'Grady mold.
I was gonna say Addie is gonna be playing more
of that than Hannah or even Ava.
Yep.
She's not like some great athlete. I can tell you that.
No, they're the same. I'm gonna be honest with you, except for Beers makes her layups. Let's call it what it is. They're very slow, very methodical in what they do. Like now, again, Hannah, if she used her athleticism, she should be fine. But at the same point in time, I think Ava can come in and give us great minutes and run her. I think that is great, but I do think Addie has a place in this game. I do think that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I saw Beers play, a few games when Oregon State got hot there at the end of last year, and I just didn't know if that was just a moment then or how good she actually is or not. But, you hear a lot about her, so I assume she's going to be the person that is their go-to player.
I'd love to get her in the portal next year, but hey, any reason to think, I have not asked Kyle Huseman this, but he follows recruiting a lot more than I do. Kachine, both of those Wisconsin bigs are in the portal. Any reason to think Iowa should pursue one of those with Addie O'Grady leaving and potentially
is one of them a 4?
Yeah.
Those are the 2 games I never watched. I was never on the podcast when we played Wisconsin, so I have no idea. But if one of them is a 4, that could be a stretch 4, I'm all for it. If they're just down in the basket 4, that don't help us.
Sarah Williams. Well, Sarah. We've watched Sarah Williams play,
but she's a 5.
Yeah, she's a 5. She's not like
we need a 4 who can shoot the ball.
Yeah, but I'm saying if Hannah, what I'm saying is if Hannah develops like we've expected her to,
I still need another 4
to the 4. Addie's.
But if Sarah Williams wants to come to Iowa, man, you got to take her.
You can't say no. I'm not going to lie to that. You can't say no. You just going to have to change your whole offense up. But I'm more in the sense of I'm not going crazy because, again, yes, I do admit you can't go into the portal trying to get the best available. That doesn't fit your current roster. You go into the portal with looks, what you're looking for. What do I need?
There are certain people that if they come calling, you can't.
Yeah, but they're not because we're not that. So keep going.
Why do you always give us a reality check, Kachine?
I'm sorry.
Hopes up and then smash them down.
I'm so sorry. They didn't leave Wisconsin to come to Iowa. They left Wisconsin to go to damn Texas or.
Wisconsin is a dumpster fire and has been a dumpster fire for a long time.
It's freezing over there.
Well, I'm just saying the women's program is horrible, but
it's been horrible. I never lost against them, and I don't think many Iowa people have. But still, I think at the end of the day, you go in with kind of like a checklist. This is what I'm looking for. This is what we're looking for to complete our roster next year. Those type of players are not searching for Iowa. They're not. They're looking for a Texas, a UConn, a South Carolina. They're trying to upgrade. I don't mind them. Hey, do what you do. But yeah, Iowa needs to be strategic about who they bring in that fits what we have, and that's going to elevate us in a way that makes sense.
Well, I don't know what it would see. Here's the other thing we have to forget. And I know we're talking about the tournament. We're talking about next year. Regardless, portal needs. All the other thing you have to think about is NIL funding. What's at your disposal as it relates to NIL dollars? Because it's not just about, really, it has nothing to do with scholarships anymore. Because the women get 15 scholarships. They don't use them. They're not using them all anyways. They're not using them all. Mm-hmm. Now, Kylie's coming back. But if you say Sarah Williams came knocking on your, I'm taking her in a heartbeat because, like I say, you get Hannah back.
What year is Sarah Williams?
I think she's got 1 year left, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Somebody here in the chat saying, well, don't we have a 4-star center, Layla Hayes, coming in? Yeah, Layla Hayes is coming in. She's a senior in high school right now.
Williams is a first team Big Ten player.
Yeah, if you could deploy Sarah Williams alongside Ava Hayden, those are your 2 5s. You go back and forth with them. Now, maybe Ava wouldn't like that, but yeah, this is sort of a year-to-year thing with building rosters out. I know Iowa fans don't like hearing that because it's not a traditionalist way of thinking, but that is sort of how this is. Anyways, good call. Anything else, sir, before we let you slide?
See you guys later.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the phone call. We've had some good phone calls, some first-time people. I don't know if he was a first-time caller, but
yeah, he didn't say his name, so I don't know who that was.
Some good callers here. Philip says, I think Iowa is at a higher level than she thinks.
What level is that?
I think is he referring to you or is he referring to Sarah Williams?
He's got to be me, but I'm still trying to figure out who. Okay.
Well, it's. I think he's saying relevancy nationally, but that doesn't mean they have the NIL money. Just like the men don't have the NIL money, the women, compared to some of the blue bloods like UConn, like LSU, like South Carolina, probably USC. I don't know that Iowa, even on the women's side. David says you were dissing your alma mater.
I'm not dissing Iowa. I'm being realistic. We are not on the same totem pole as USC and everybody else now. So at the same point in time, again, they're not. These big time players are getting in the portal to go higher, not the same or even a little bit more. They're going up above. So she has an ability, and I know they're knocking down her door. I know the ACC, the SEC, I know all of them people is knocking down her door. So what I'm saying is, why would she that's not logical. You might as well stay there.
I think what we're debating is what's the gap between. I don't even know why we're having the conversation because Sarah Williams probably ain't going to transfer to Iowa anyways. No. But what's the gap between Wisconsin and Iowa versus Iowa and South Carolina? And I think there is a significant gap between each, just in general. Hawkeyes 2133. Do you guys think Kylie coming back means we stay away from the portal? No.
Listen, Lucy came from Villanova. Who watches Villanova?
What does that got to do with anything?
No, they said Lucy came to Iowa. That's not the same. Villanova and Iowa. Iowa was above Villanova last year. So she moved up.
Yeah, but Wisconsin's above. Wisconsin's below Iowa. That's
correct. But all I'm saying is that's not the same. Lucy number one, Lucy a different kind of breed of person. So we're going to start there. But number two, that wasn't something where it was just like a little bit in the sense of that. Lucy really wanted to go to Iowa because of everything that was going on. And on top of that, she knew she can come in right away and be exactly what she is. How many other programs can you say that were above where she was and she could do that? It's not many people. It's not many on the list.
Now, I do think that if it was a program like Wisconsin that had a guard like a Lucy Olson available, you might consider coming here because of.
I can agree with that statement.
Because of opportunity.
There's lots of guards out there. The post player is slim to none, so they're gonna get. If you're a good post player, you got your pickings.
David, thank you for being here. He says enjoying the post game insights, so thank you for that. JSE Hawk, what is Cash's thoughts on starting Ava over McCabe? So in other words, playing sliding everybody down.
You can't switch that up now. You gotta leave it where it's at.
I think we addressed this earlier, Dave, but we can go back and forth about when the starters were taken out. I would have liked them out.
Yeah, but Dave, how would you feel if we kept Hannah in late in the game and then she twisted her ankle
Yeah,
in a 30-point blowout? I don't care how many minutes she played. You do not.
Your old head coach.
I hated it. I told you that last year.
Lisa, I know you did, and so did I. But Lisa Bluter, I remember saying one of the things that made me most upset was when I heard Lisa Bluter say post game after keeping Caitlin in for another triple double. Well, triple doubles are real special, and you can be walking down the street and get hurt, or driving a car and get hurt. That's such a foolish way of thinking, in my opinion. It's nothing personal from a basketball standpoint, and I'm not the coach. I'm not a Hall of Fame.
Listen, Lisa needed to go play the lottery or something, because as much as she was playing, she was lucky.
Lisa, thank you for reminding everybody. Almost 600 people watching. Please hit that like button if you're here. Sam reminding everybody the same thing. And Kelly reminding everybody, hit the like button. Thumbs up. It helps us in the algorithm. And be sure you're telling your friends about our post-game coverage each and every game. Yes, the people that are asking about Tegan Mullaney, if you didn't catch our report from, the various reports. I know Jeff Linder, I believe, had it first. Kyle Huesman reported on it as well. Tegan Mullaney did not make the trip to Norman. She could fly down between now and Monday if she can get out of concussion protocol. But I don't think you're too concerned with that.
No. Listen, somebody sent it to me, and I was like, not going to make her game.
Timothy says, Cash, what kind of a jump do you see from Guyton next year? He's expecting a big one because she'll have a year under her belt and she'll be a year removed from injury.
I mean, that would be those are two great points. I feel like somebody needs to do a study, right? We talk about the sophomore slump.
Yeah.
But there's also the reverse, right? Where as a freshman, every day is new. Like you just trying to figure out what's new. The Big Ten tournament was new. How you prepare for that? How you prepare for the NCAA tournament? Everything is new. How you prepare for finals week? Like everything you do as a freshman is new. Like that can be very taxing. As a sophomore, it's not many things you haven't seen at that point. Like you've been through it, you've seen it, you've done it, the whole nine. It gives you a sense of confidence to a degree because you go into the day knowing what to expect as your everyday life. I'm not talking about in games, but as your everyday life. With that comfortability comes you being able to focus on getting better because you know how to handle things. You know, you're not staying up all hours of the night because you forgot to do this or whatever the case is. You kind of just know what to expect. So I think that for her, having that year under her belt, also a year removed from injury, allows her to actually have a full off season and a summer. So, and honestly, with her and her dad, when she goes home, you know how everybody goes home for that period of time, I'm not worried about her because she has her dad there who's actually going to be able to coach her during that time off. There's a lot of people who don't have that option and they kind of take a step back during that time away from the team. With her, I don't think that's going to be the case. So she already has kind of a jump from everybody else.
And if she spends any time with her mom, same thing.
Right.
Same
Correct.
thing. All right. Peace, love, Jen in the chat. Just saw the video of the bus driver the Iowa girls had on social media. Her name is Z, and she's brought some great motivation to this team. So we'll have to check that out. I did not see anything about that. So we'll have to look that up after the show's over. Evan says if Oklahoma wins, this sets up an interesting matchup. Yes, we talked about it. Played at Iowa under post coach Jan Jensen. Her freshman year, Iowa assistant Randy Peterson was her teammate. And then you brought up
Coach Gage. She coached with Coach J.
Yeah, so the roots run deep there. And for people who are curious, Oklahoma leads FGCU 36-26 halftime. That game's over on ESPNU. I said ESPN earlier. It's on ESPNU. Linda wants to know, with it being a de facto home game for Oklahoma, how does Iowa handle that? And I mean, it sounds like the students aren't very
Iowa play well on the road, honestly.
Say it again.
Iowa plays well on the road for the most part. So I don't.
They hadn't been until
correct.
Well, I shouldn't say that. They didn't have a lot of tests early on. Remember, they played Drake. You know, it's Drake, and then they had the game at Washington where they played really well, and that started a stretch where they play well on the road. So Yeah, I think they'll be fine. And then this question again regarding the tournament. When you get to postseason play, can you talk about the adjustment to officiating? What is the change, and is there an adjustment period? Do the coaches talk about that?
I do believe coaches talk about it. I think that you can't complain about it as a player. Leave that to your coaches. You just got to go out there and play and make the adjustment. If they are calling it close, then you know that you have got to be smart and get to your spots early. So yeah, that's just got to make the adjustment. You can't complain about it.
Mystery Machine says Tegan Mullaney is going to surprise you, Kachine.
I hope so.
Do you think Mystery Machine is actually Tegan Mullaney? She's home.
She is at home
on the live chat. She's just.
I hope she does. I really do.
Tegan, if you're out there, we want you to surprise us. All right, let's go back to our phone line. I think our final caller of the day. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
Beep, beep.
You're on the air. Welcome. Hello.
Okay.
Okay. Ryan, I wonder if she went through, talking about Kylie, I wonder if she went through senior festivities because she wanted to come back, but it was going to be a question of her getting into the MBA program. It's possible, Kachine.
It's always possible.
Maybe you're being a little hard on her.
If that was the case, I apologize.
Mystery Machine says yes. He or she is Tegan Mullaney.
All right, Tegan, get off the computer and get some rest. Go sit in the dark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, let's try one more time with our caller. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
Yes, this is Teddy calling from Peoria, Illinois.
Hey, welcome.
Just a small mention in regards to Guyton.
Yes.
I just would like to see her to be more of a team player. She was the big whiz around here, and small pond. And I think she needs to make that adjustment. I don't think she's good and will be. I would just like to see her be a little more of a team player is all I wanted to say.
Kachine, your thoughts on that? Because she's not the only one that feels this way. There are a lot of people in the chat that basically are saying the same thing.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be critical of her. I just would like her to have a better mindset in that regard. And like I said, she was really great here in Peoria. And I think the adjustment to being with other players who are just as good or better, that I would just like her to try to fit more to that.
Kachine, you want to respond?
So I think that everyone needs to be careful with the terminology of team player. So that means that Aaliyah Guyton knowingly is looking off her teammates and is trying to think of all but herself. That is what not being a team player is. I think in this case for her is she is having issues with reading the defense. I don't think it's because she doesn't want to. We've seen her make great passes. We've seen her look for her teammates, and she's still trying to. She's just either taking one dribble too long. She's holding on to the ball a little bit longer before the defense collapses. I don't think, and she's turning the ball over because she's trying to pass it, but it's too late. So I think in her case, it's more of the fact of decision making. Like she just needs to understand that one more dribble puts you in trouble. As soon as you see the defense make a move, you've done your job, get rid of it. I think she's trying to make something happen, but she's going too deep. So that's the issue. I don't think it's because she's selfish or not a team player. I don't think that at all. I've seen those. I know what those look like.
No, I didn't. I wasn't.
Well, not you. I'm just saying there were some other people that were saying things like that. I was just kind of.
Well, no, I'm not saying that she was totally one way. It just comes across at times when I watch her and I'm thinking, you're not even looking, you're not even looking. And at times when you already are going to, and it's like you have no way out and she hasn't even stopped. She just goes ahead and she gets down here among the trees and there you are. So I don't want to go any further and sound too critical. I'm just was concerned because I know that she's talented. I watched her here in Peoria. So I know what she has going and her pedigree. I just, it
it just comes across that way at times. So I won't say anything more about it because I don't want somebody to think I'm just being overly beating up on her. I don't mean to do that.
No, you're
So,
good. And just
anyway.
keep in mind, you know this better than anybody, having been from her hometown, that she's a freshman. She's coming off a serious knee injury. She didn't get an off season leading up to her freshman year. So the mental side of the game, the chemistry side of the game, the physical side of the game, all that's going to catch up to her as she goes into her first off season. So she's kind of trial by fire to this point.
Well, but like you said, if you just honestly think about it, if you come from being a big, in a small pond, that adjustment in itself just isn't relegated to her. It happens with a lot
That's
of
right.
them. So I'll let you go, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, every single one of these players is going from being the big fish in a small pond to being a small fish in a big pond. Let's go to our final caller. Thank you for calling Iowa Postgame with Kachine Alexander. Who's on the line?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
I have a bone to pick with Kachine. I think that's a bad take. Iowa has gone to 2 straight national title games. We were the most popular.
Yeah, you're joking. Go ahead.
We were one of the most popular women's programs of all time. We were a Big Ten school. I think you're selling us short. So.
Oh, I love it. The fire from the.
All right. So now let's do that. You're absolutely right. We went to 2 Final Fours, and then we went to 2 national championship games because of who? Caitlin Clark. If we didn't have Caitlin Clark, we wouldn't have gone there. Caitlin Clark is no longer here. So with that being said, our national attention is not as high anymore. So that puts us back in the category of being average. So again, now I will tell you this. One of the main reasons that recruits are still interested in Iowa is because of the fans. I can guarantee you that. Because our fans and the atmosphere that they get to play in matters. All I'm saying is when you have a player that is of a high caliber like that, they are specifically getting into the portal to go and get NLI money. They're getting in the portal so that they can go play for a South Carolina. They're going in the portal so they can play for a Texas, a Notre Dame, or somebody with that kind of caliber. I am not saying that Iowa wasn't that at some point. But what I am saying is when a player like that, especially a post player, because post players are hard to come by, they get into the portal, they're looking to go elsewhere. They are not looking to stay within this little pond that we got here. That's all I'm saying. Not saying that a guard that is at a decent school isn't going to look at Iowa. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying in this case scenario with Wisconsin, they're not looking to come to Iowa. That's not even on their radar. They already know where they're looking, and it's not here. That's not to take away from what Iowa has done in the past. It's just the realisticness of where we are right now.
But I disagree with you on the notion that we're an average program now. I think she raised the profile of the program. People are taking a look at it, look at us now. We've got a great fan base, great school, great community, great opportunities, great coaching.
So then why didn't we get a big time player last year that we wanted? Where did she go?
Well, we got Addison Gill coming in next year. She's a 5-star. We had.
Are you talking about? Are you talking about the transfer cycle before Lucy? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I agree. I was critical of that. I thought they missed an opportunity the previous cycle to go in the portal and land a big fish. I think we can all agree on that, right, caller? Like they did miss an opportunity when they had Anissa Morrow on the market, when they had what's her face from UCLA, from Stanford initially.
Yeah.
Why didn't they come here?
Well,
why did they didn't even give us a look? Why? Because of money and because of status.
They're not going to get everybody that they want, but I mean, we are one of the bigger fish in women's college basketball. That's how I feel. Maybe we're not South Carolina or UConn.
Yeah.
But I do think now we are up there, and we need to have that attitude a little bit. And who was that number 1 prospect that came when we beat USC? What was her name?
Number 1 prospect.
Harpole.
Who are we talking? Say that again.
She was like a 27 or something.
So I mean, we are getting attention. We're getting a lot of top 100 recruits. We're getting attention from the top recruits. Like we're getting Addie Deal next year. She's a 5-star. We had a 5-star come visit us for USC. So we are a higher profile women's program, and I think
I think I
Well,
can.
not average.
I think I can be on both sides of this coin to some extent. I know where you both are coming from. I think Iowa is probably a top 10 women's basketball program in the country right now. But I do think there's a big gap. If Iowa's number 10, there's a big gap between number 7, 8, 9, 10, and top 5. I think there is a big gap there. And I think the majority of the marquee players are still going to look at the top 5. Doesn't mean Iowa's not going to get a look, especially from the high major 5-star recruits nationally on the high school level or even in the portal. But it was an indicator 2 years ago when Lisa Bluter called people like Anissa Morrow. That was reported and basically got nothing in response. She tried. I see both perspectives. I'm, and Kachine, you're as big of a Hawkeye homer as anybody because you played here. And you're
I'm just realistic of where these players are looking. And if you give me a different player, I would flat out tell you, okay, yeah, Iowa's an option. I'm saying that's not an option. Again, yeah, we might be top 10 or whatever the case might be, but there's a massive gap before like the 1 through 5 area. If you're telling me I have a choice to pick between South Carolina and Iowa, majority of people are not picking Iowa. That's just a fact. So it's just how the cookie crumbles. Anissa Morrow, we had just went to a Final Four and it played in the tournament. We beat South Carolina, and Anissa was looking at us like, "Yeah, no, I'm good." I'm good.
A lot of this comes down to more so money than anything else.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. We're not that caliber. We're not. You can get your 5-star recruits and whatever the case is. There's a lot of 5 stars. There's a lot of 5 stars who ain't even looking at Iowa. That's just, it is what it is. But my only thing is understanding the difference. Not saying that we're not in the conversation, but understanding the difference.
No, that's fair. That's fair. I don't think we're on the same level as like South Carolina.
No, but I'm not saying that people aren't completely like Iowa who. I think that's what y'all think that I think. Like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I know what those particular kids are looking for, that particular one. But yeah, I'm not saying that it's Iowa who. No, people know who our name is. Definitely. We put ourselves on the map.
We do have to wrap things up. Caller, appreciate you calling in, and please don't be a stranger to the show.
Oh, Lord. Here go Aaron again. Lord Jesus.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good one.
Appreciate you too. Just
bro, he blows my mind.
I sit watching every show and then he late in the show, obviously he likes the show. So Edwin says you're wrong on Tegan Mullaney. She's going to be all Big Ten.
And I hope she is.
And I hope she is too.
Any final thoughts? Her shot, she'll be all right.
By the way, real quick, UConn defeats Arkansas State 103-34. Final score there. It's 36-26 Oklahoma FGCU halftime. I'll try to get something published in the way of a preview, assuming we will have a result, but assuming it's Oklahoma, we'll talk about that. But folks, we got to wrap things up now because I'm late for an engagement. Folks, thank you for being here. Hit the like button. If you're interested in sponsorship, you can do that by emailing the email on the bottom of your screen. And if you're interested in donating, you can do that as well. For Kachine Alexander, I'm Corey Braddock from the Hawkeye of the Storm. We will talk to you very soon, Monday at the very latest, after Iowa and either Oklahoma or FGCU in the tournament. We'll talk to you later.